At least 5 multinationals have winded down operations in Nigeria in the last 10 months. An analysis of separate notices filed by the firms have shown. Now, on Wednesday, consumer goods giant Procter Gambles said it would dissolve on-ground operations in the country. The chief financial officer of the group, Schulten, stated this during his presentation at the Morgan Stanley Global Consumer and Retail Conference. The company explained that it was difficult to do business in Nigeria as a dollar-denominated organization, and the macroeconomic reality in Nigeria is responsible for its latest strategic decision. In the studio this morning to talk more about this, I have Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Enterprise. Doctor, it's nice to have you around.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Isn't it worrisome that 5 multinationals have actually exited Nigeria, and now we're seeing another one exiting Nigeria that's said to be the largest economy in Africa? Calling it worrisome, wouldn't you even see it as an understatement?
Well, it's a very disturbing situation and a very disturbing trend. But this is not peculiar to multinationals. These are manifestations of the shocks, macroeconomic shocks that all the investors in the economy have been facing in recent times. First, there are shocks from foreign exchange shocks, with the liquidity and the depreciation. There are shocks arising from high inflation generally, and there are also shocks arising from high energy costs. So the degree of impact on businesses is a function of the exposure to these various levels of shocks. And for multinational companies, their foreign exchange exposure is extremely very high for most of them. First, in terms of high import dependence in the business they do, either in form of raw materials or in form of the goods that they import and sell, just as we have in the case of GSK, for instance. Second, there's also the challenge of having to repatriate their proceeds, abroad, because, the main shareholders are not here, they are abroad. So from those two perspectives, it has been very, very challenging because of the macroeconomic condition that we are faced with now. Of course, the CBN has been trying to deal with the situation. The CBN governor has assured us, and we have seen some efforts along those lines, trying to clear the backlog of foreign exchange, after which the CBN will be in a better position to be able to stabilize the market. So we are in the process of the government or the monetary authorities trying to fix the problem, but the dimensions of the problems are quite big.
Just as you have said,
that is why it is what it is now.
Of course, just as you have said, these companies cited unfavorable macroeconomic conditions, and that's the primary reason why they're exiting the country. And of course, just as you have said, the Nigerian government, including the CBN, is doing all that it can to deal with these issues. Of course, we know that the president has been touring different countries, trying to attract investment and telling investors that economic bottlenecks have been removed. Now, is it safe to say that the Nigerian government has not really put its house in order to see how to ensure that the environment is conducive for those already in the market, but then it's trying to secure more investments from other countries? And that's one. Then two, for how long do you think that Nigerians, businesses, and multinational companies would need to be patient to begin to see transformational changes in the Nigerian macroeconomy before they begin to reap dividends for the investments that they've put into the Nigerian markets?
Well, first of all, let me say that whatever the government is doing to fix the challenges in the economy, especially the macroeconomic challenges, we can say is work in progress. We cannot say that until we completely fix everything before we make ourselves available or before we invite investors to come here. These things are not mutually exclusive. As we try to fix these challenges, we can as well ask investors to come here. After all, there are also investors here. And the challenges that these multinationals are facing are not peculiar to them. Even domestic investors are facing the same challenges. If you talk to any business, indigenous businesses that have high foreign exchange exposure, the challenges are the same. If you talk to any business that has high energy exposure, that is energy intensive, it's the same. If you talk to even those who are in the consumer product segments, because of the high inflation, high prices, and weak purchasing power, they're also facing challenges. So it's an economic-wide issue. While we try to fix it, there's nothing, that diminishes the importance of asking investors to come, especially on the back of some of the reforms that has taken place. Part of the reforms is the attempts to ensure the convergence of the exchange rates. That has been an impediment to investment for a long time. Unfortunately, some of these reforms, we don't have the fundamentals to support them because the reserves level are very low. So the pace of improvement, the pace of outcomes has also been very slow because the fundamentals are weak. So it is not mutually exclusive. Whatever we can do, because this economy also has its own strong points. We have a very big market, we have the resources, we have the people. Yes, we have macroeconomic challenges. But for me, I think it's work in progress.
It's work in progress, but Doctor, you would realize that a lot of jobs are being lost. A lot of people will be losing their jobs in this instance, and that would actually add to the unemployment rate in the country. If we continue to witness this, what does this portend for the Nigerian economy, pending the time that, of course, you said it's a work in progress. So pending the time we begin to see changes occur positively, what do you think this will portend for the Nigerian economy?
No, of course, it's not the trend in the short term is also not good. Because when you find yourself in this kind of situation, sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. This is like undertaking a surgery. The process of a surgery can be very painful, and given the very weak fundamentals that the economy has, especially with regard to reserves and with regard to the huge deficits that we have accumulated over time, and with regard to the huge debt exposure. All these are very serious issues around the economic fundamentals. They take time. But while this is being fixed, the situation, of course, will will be very challenging. So, but progressively, hopefully by the first, second quarter, things will continue to get better.
All right.
If, for instance, we reduce, our importation of petroleum products, for instance, that will reduce the pressure on foreign exchange markets. If we're able to make progress with the oil theft and all of that, that will also improve the situation. If businesses are also able to review their business models and do a lot more of backward integration, that will also help the situation. So there are so many, there are so many areas in which improvements are needed, both at the macro level and also at the business strategy level.
Okay, let's quickly look at the new model that P&G is hoping to assume. Now, they said that they will be turning their Nigerian market into import-only market, effectively dissolving its footprint on the ground in Nigeria and reverting to an import-only model. I'd like to just, in a bit, explain to us what that particular model means, what is the implication, and if that will benefit local producers.
No, import-only model is that, well, they appreciate that the market here is huge, but the challenges of production are quite enormous, which is a challenge that all the manufacturers are facing. So the model they have opted to adopt now is just to import the products and sell here. And that speaks to what the government also needs to do. We need to give a lot more incentives to those who are producing here, so that we don't see a lot more incentive for people to concentrate on importation rather than production. So the government needs to do a lot more to create the environment for those who are in production, from the point of view of ensuring that, for instance, their inputs are much more affordable. We look at their tariffs, we look at their import duty, we look at their tax regime, And of course, the big macroeconomic issue is the stabilization of the exchange rate. But what is important is that we need to roll out more incentives to discourage the business model of concentrating on importation rather than production.
You probably
that is the challenge.
Dr. Yusuf, you probably might need to also look at how the Nigerian government would provide incentives. Of course, because we understand that with what P&G is trying to do right now and the issue with accessing Forex availability, that might, at the end of the day, result into consumers paying more for products that they usually buy at a cheaper rate as of now. So for the federal government that already runs on a lean budget, what other areas do you think it should be looking at if it is to be providing incentives for these multinational companies if they decide to absorb or imbibe this kind of model?
Well, I think the big issue around incentives, first and foremost, is for those who are producing here. And one of the things that I think the government can do and do very quickly is to take a look at their intermediate products. What are the raw materials? What are their inputs? If there is any tariff, import duty, taxes on those inputs, let us remove all those things so that their costs can come down significantly. I think that, for me, is a low-hanging fruit. Secondly, at the macroeconomic level, we have talked about the issue of addressing domestic refining of petroleum products and all of that. We spend almost a third of our foreign exchange importing petroleum products. So if we support all those who are in the business of refining petroleum products, so that we can reduce the pressure of demand on the petroleum products, so that we can further make more foreign exchange available to the foreign exchange market, that will also help a great deal. So I think it's a question of supporting those who are in the business environment. And we'll also look at the energy space. What can we do to bring down the cost of energy? Because the biggest challenges facing those who are in production today are challenges of high energy costs and challenges of foreign exchange.
Okay.
Those are the big issues.
Those are the big issues, I must say. Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Enterprises, thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And that is the size of our discussion on Business Edge for today. Don't forget to visit our social media platforms at New Central TV. Visit our website, www.newcentral.africa. Equally download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store for more engagement on all these platforms. I am Lekan, Onabanjo. Thank you so much for being part of our show. Do stay with us. We'll bring you the news at the top of the hour.